how's it going? Welcome back to another great video with your host, The Savior. Now today I want to just take a minute to talk about Elden Ring, okay? And give you my Elden Ring 2025 review, okay? Now that we've got the DLC out, now we've got the base game all nice and polished, we have good ways to play the game on console thanks to the PlayStation 5 Pro. If you're a millionaire, then hey, it might be something worth considering.
Spyro, in order to proceed, you must give me, let's say, 1 million gems. Are you feeling okay, Spyro? Spyro, what the fuck?
We will also be talking about Elden Ring Fortnite Edition. Well done, Fromsoftware. You truly pulled out all of the creative juices that you're known for to deliver us Elden Ring Fortnite. Or Elden Ring Monster Hunter, or Battle Royale, whatever the hell you want to call it. No, I may be dogging on it slightly. I am actually very excited for it, but to be honest, it's not what I was hoping for. It's not what I think makes Fromsoftware games amazing. Jolly Corporation, of course, that is a good time in all Fromsoftware games, going back from Demon Souls, Dark Souls. I just feel like even Fromsoftware now, one of the, beloved developers still left that actually still have great creative passion in their video games, are also trying to hop on that popular trend of kind of a live service title to get some money in, and that's a little bit of a disappointment if you ask me. If this was a DLC for Elden Ring, I would not have a single problem with it, and I no doubt in my mind is this gonna be a bad game. Of course this is still going to be amazing, but as someone who is a Dark Souls purist, a Demon Souls purist, this just, it's not what I wanted, but I am still excited to see it. So no hate here, but come on guys, is this what we were expecting? I don't think this was on anyone's 2025 game bingo card, okay, let's be honest. But still, we will talk about that as well. So today, my wise ones, I'm going to give you the Elden Ring 2025 review. We're in a brand new year, can you believe it? It's just gone by massively quickly, to be honest. 2024 was kind of a so-so year for gaming, if you ask me, compared to 2023. But it looks like 2025 has that same momentum that 2023 had, so I'm very excited for it. So that's why I want to give you an Elden Ring 2025 review. So with all of that stuff out of the way, let's just jump straight into this. If you're new, make sure that you do subscribe, join this fantastic community today, become a wise one if you're passionate about gaming analysis, video essays, and philosophy and gaming. I combine the two on my channel, so become a wise one. This channel and community, I hope, will just become even better and stronger this year. I just want to do OG YouTube, have a conversation with you guys. So let me know what you think about Elden Ring. Now, I do hope you had a great New Year and a good Hanukkah. We gotta be diverse here, or Christmas, whatever it is, whatever floats your boat. Let me know how you're doing and all that stuff. No, honestly guys, I actually do care.
Unfortunately for you, however, you are maidenless.
So, Elden Ring, okay, let's talk about the base game first of all. Well, to be honest, it was kind of in a sticky mess when it first launched, especially on consoles. The FPS was pretty terrible, pretty abysmal. And now it's much more playable, okay? It's completely patched out. It's absolutely beautiful on PC. You can even make it even more beautiful with the help of mods on PC as well. But now even people, on Xbox, or, everything's an Xbox, I forgot, we're in 2025 now. For all I know, you could be playing Elden Ring on the toilet now, because your phone can probably be an Xbox now. But what I'm saying is people on consoles now have good access to Elden Ring with a good, steady FPS. Even better for, like I said, for PS4 Pro people. But honestly, the game is just complete now. It's completely balanced. I had an issue with Elden Ring when it first released because the balancing was completely off. I made a whole 1-hour critique of the game simply because I am a Dark Souls player first, Elden Ring player second, okay? Now, I'm not going to pretend I don't love Dark Souls much more than Elden Ring from a lore perspective, from a gameplay perspective and from a philosophical perspective, the world of Dark Souls is just so nuanced and deep, and like the intertwining metaphysics of how that universe works, and it intertwines with the gameplay. We just don't see that in gaming. Elden Ring was more of, a big wide net to capture a more broader audience, okay? Slap George R.R. Martin onto Elden Ring, make the lore a little bit convoluted and over the top. I'm not saying it's not good, and just, chuck out a wide net of all fantasy tropes, high fantasy, dark fantasy, and you have yourself Elden Ring. Now, it's a great game. I still absolutely love it. I do think Fromsoftware were better creating a more, not linear world, but interconnected world like with Dark Souls and that series compared to a massive open world. I also feel that Torrent, the stupid little goat that you have, ruins the gameplay and the environmental dangers in Fromsoftware games, and I talked about that massively, so check out my video critique if you're interested. But it is a good game, okay? I'm not saying it's not a good game. I still love Elden Ring, and what I love most about Elden Ring is the replayability, okay? I've played it a dozen times now since release, and that's why in 2025 it is a very different experience, because on release it was unbalanced, for sure, okay? You could, cheese so many different tactics. The blood mechanic was completely over the top. It still is quite overpowered. Magic was completely goddamn broken. But that was hilarious. That was kind of a fun aspect to it, to a degree, that you could break the game. You could find a way to cheese it and cheese the bosses. Now we've tightened up on that. There aren't so many ways to cheese bosses. The gameplay is just much more structured, especially now that we have, new playstyles, new builds thanks to the DLC. And that has completely changed up the gameplay, the base gameplay as well. If you go and do the DLC halfway through and then carry on with base Elden Ring, it is possible. You have so many new builds to play around with, which makes the gameplay much more interesting to me. I just love what they did, with the combat. Elden Ring is just a masterpiece when it comes to the combat, the different player builds that you can have, for weapon art. I mean, so many great systems that just built upon the Souls formula and made it much better. Not like many Souls-like, just copying the same, copy and paste mechanics from Souls originally. Elden Ring truly was an evolution, and it's only got better with time. Like I said, thanks to Shadow of the Erdtree and that DLC, it added so many just cool gameplay features that I really love, that really flesh out the combat, to be honest. So in 2025, it's just so much more balanced. You get a complete experience with it now. Not many bugs, not that there were many bugs on release, but like I said, it's much more of a fine-tuned experience. Of course, you can still overlevel and come back and fight the bosses. I still think that the dungeons themselves are rather just linear and a little bit boring compared to, the catacombs in Dark Souls or Dark Souls 2, and they do reuse a lot of the same bosses, which I do find a little bit annoying at times. It's not too bad, and especially, like I said, the dungeons do feel quite similar in base Elden Ring, but they did truly step that up with the DLC, in my opinion. The dungeons are a lot better, but at the same time, there's a lot of wasted space in Shadow of the Erdtree. It is a big DLC, but I do feel at times it's trying to be a big DLC for the sake of being a big DLC. Dark Souls 2, the DLCs, say what you want about that base game, I still absolutely love it, but the DLCs all had purpose. They all had functional design in the level design itself, and I just think it's, they could have gone that route. They should have gone that route with Elden Ring instead of it just being a massive spectacle. Elden Ring in 2025 is still a top tier game, one of the best of all times, and one of Fromsoftware's best games of all times. But a lot of people would disagree with me and say Elden Ring is the top Fromsoftware game. I disagree. I still do think that goes to Dark Souls, Dark Souls 2, and Demon Souls. Dark Souls 3 is also a great evolution. And Bloodborne, of course. I mean, they've made many good games, okay? I don't think any of us are disagreeing that Fromsoftware are amazing, but Elden Ring does start to feel like it is trying to capture a wider audience. It isn't as difficult. Some of the bosses are absolutely horrible in Elden Ring because they are super difficult, but not when you play the game correctly. And what I mean by that is going off and exploring, and there is a lot of grind in Elden Ring, but it doesn't feel like grind because each discovery that you find you know, is just amazing. And there's always new enemies to discover, new bosses, new loot. Like I said, so many different play styles that you can just branch out. I mean, you can literally be a kung fu warrior now, thanks to Elden Ring Shadow of the Erdtree. So there's just so much here to discover. It's an absolutely beautiful game. The environmental storytelling is absolutely well done. The quests, I still think, are a little bit finicky, you know, the character quest lines. I like the fact that they were traveling around in Dark Souls, and they kind of do the same thing in Elden Ring, but because it's so massive, that can be annoying for some. I do understand that. I feel like a smaller condensed world is where Fromsoftware is best, okay? So Elden Ring, if you want a massive RPG to sink hours and hours of, you know, time and gameplay into, this is the best fantasy RPG that you can probably find combat-wise, maybe not from a story-wise perspective, but definitely combat-wise and exploration-wise. So I do hope you are enjoying this Elden Ring 2025 review, and you are subscribed to the channel. If you're not and you're new, what are you doing? Go down right now and subscribe to the channel. I would be very honored to have you join the Wise One community. Now, I still stand with my original opinion on Elden Ring, that some of the bosses, they just went for, you know, Dark Souls 3 and Sekiro combat on steroids with Elden Ring. You know, a lot of spammy attacks, okay? Not so much choreographed attacks. Of course, you can still learn the attack patterns. That's always the same with any Souls game. But I do feel like they went a little bit OTT with Elden Ring, a little bit too fast-paced for me. And it's not a skill issue. I have beaten it. I just prefer the slower combat of the original Souls series, the weighty, you know, animations and all that stuff. And yeah, I still do think that the boss designs just aren't as clever or as unique as some of the earlier Dark Souls boss. Like, I remember all of the bosses from Dark Souls 1, okay? They're all memorable, and some of them you can say are a little bit gimmicky, but, you know, a game can be gimmicky and still be fun. Elden Ring, a lot of the bosses kind of merge together in my mind, and I'm not saying that they're badly designed, but I just don't think it's quite of the same level of quality, and I still do stand by that. But let's get on to the discussion of Elden Ring in 2025. This is going to be a massive year for this game, simply because of the new game, Elden Ring NIGHTREIGN. So let's talk about NIGHTREIGN. So now let's talk about Elden Ring NIGHTREIGN, okay? Now, honestly, I do believe that this should have been an Elden Ring DLC, okay? Elden Ring in 2025 is going to be absolutely insane. We're going to get a lot of people going back to the original Elden Ring game. We're going to get a lot of people who skipped on the DLC. Now they're going to go and try this out. And then you're going to get the people who love Elden Ring multiplayer, and they're going just to go towards this game, okay? You're also going to get new people who never played Elden Ring, but now they can play it with their buddies much more accessibly. They're going to go over to this new game, okay? But is this really a new game? Okay, this feels more like a DLC in my eyes. Of course, they're adding a ton of new locations, a ton of new enemy types, and a lot of them are coming back from the original games in Dark Souls and stuff like that. That makes me super excited as a Dark Souls fan, but I'm just not sure about this formula. I think the idea of a 3-day cycle is very cool, and, you know, you have to gather up your strength, get ready for the boss and all that kind of stuff, and especially the multiplayer aspect, but it just looks like they've changed. It's kind of everything I don't really like about Elden Ring to a degree, but amplified. You know, they've made it even more of just an action game instead of a Souls game. You know, the combat looks even more frenetic and just over the top, almost like Monster Hunter in a way. And I'm not saying that's a bad thing. I do like that they are experimenting. You know, I'm not saying they need to make every game just the same formula. You know, Souls as a genre needs to evolve, but it just feels like this isn't what Fromsoftware is best at. But I still do think it's going to be a great multiplayer game. But is it truly a Souls game when they're changing a lot of the combat? If you actually look into it, the combat is a lot more fast-paced and frenetic. And yeah, only time will tell, but I am excited for it. So that's going to be a huge thing in 2025. Like I said, I'm just passionate about analyzing games and philosophy and blending them together when I can. Yeah, I'm just happy to have this channel grow and interact with you guys. That's the whole fun of it. I wouldn't be doing it otherwise. I'm not here, you know, to do it for the brand. I'm in it to talk and discuss about my passions and share and hopefully help you guys with some things with my philosophical content. And we can delve deeper into media and try and save it, because the gaming industry, just like all media, is going downhill, and we do need to, you know, have higher standards with everything in life, and try and build up a community that can support each other. So subscribe if you are new. But honestly, let me just round off this Elden Ring 2025 review. I do think the base game now is better than it's ever been before. Like I said, you can't find an RPG that's this big, that has so many cool fantasy elements, from high fantasy to dark fantasy, much more high fantasy compared to Dark Souls and that series, I would say. But still, if you want to play as a mage, if you want to play as, you know, a massive greatsword, you know, two-handed badass, you can do that as well. You can literally be Guts if you want, from the anime, and just like carry around a massive two great-handed sword. If you want to play co-op, you can also do that in Elden Ring, but it is a lot more finicky. The amount of varied locations in Elden Ring still staggers me. The secrets that still new players are discovering even now is also amazing. At times, it does still feel bloated to a degree, and I say that, but I still love all of the content in Elden Ring. But it does feel like they went more for spectacle than depth at times. More for spectacle than introspective gameplay like the Souls series in some ways. But all of the gameplay mechanics are very detailed. Like the actual combat itself is even more detailed and complicated than Dark Souls. And I will forever have a gripe in my heart with Torrent, because I do feel like he takes away a lot of the challenge in Elden Ring, to be honest. There's a lot of there's many ways to cheese Elden Ring, and that has been refined in 2025. Like I said, with mods as well, the different challenges that you can give yourself on PC. It's a great time to play in 2025. The fact that Shadow of the Erdtree adds a whole new massive map, a bunch of new enemy types and bosses, so many new playstyles and builds to try out, and new weapons, new weapon arts, and just so much more in the DLC. It's just great, you know, the lore and the locations, the art design, it's beautiful. I mean, this is a beautiful game. You know, it truly feels like you are stepping into, you know, a work of art. You know, the architecture and everything about this game just makes it feel like a real place. The music is fantastic. Does it have as nuanced philosophical meaning as Dark Souls and that series, where all of the gameplay mechanics are actually tied into how the universe in that game actually works, the metaphysics of it all, the idea of going hollow, fitting into the respawn mechanic, the idea of, you know, keeping the fire alive. I mean, that's just so powerful. And I'm going to do a full philosophical video on the original Dark Souls at some point this year, but I have talked about it before in my other Souls videos. I am a massive Souls fan. If you can't tell, I absolutely love this series. But it doesn't have all of that, but what it does have is just wonder. And, you know, I didn't really get that sense of exploration for a long time, not since like something like Skyrim, and in hindsight that's a lot of nostalgia. This game is just incredible with exploration. I just wish at times it felt a little bit more lived in, because this isn't, you know, a dying land as much as Dark Souls is. It is still, you know, a kind of forgotten kingdom, but I just wish there was more interaction with NPCs and stuff like that. I still think Elden Ring is a fantastic game, and like I said, the DLC adds just so much more to it, and Elden Ring in 2025 is going to be massive because of the new Elden Ring game, Elden Ring 2.0. I'm not saying they need to change the engine, but, you know, just changing the art style. This is still Elden Ring, just like Breath of the Wild 2 is still Breath of the Wild. You know, that's not a bad thing, but I do think they should have either gone a completely different route with Souls. I'm just not sure. I think this should have been a great DLC, but I'm still excited to see it. So, Elden Ring in 2025, is Elden Ring worth it in 2025? Absolutely, of course it is. It's a fantastic game. It's now better than it's ever been. You've got the multiplayer community that's going to pop off massively. You've got the base game that is fully polished now, and the DLC for extra challenge. And for new players, I highly recommend you play it with that, because there's so much more build, you know, variation now with the gameplay. And just the fact that the replayability of this game with the amount of builds and weapon types. I mean, they all have their own unique animations. Not many games can say that, with each weapon feels different, and there's so many different, you know, multi-classes that you can go into. It doesn't box you in. Even something like Baldur's Gate 3, which I absolutely love. This is just freedom in an RPG and fantasy sense. I absolutely love it for that, but the world doesn't hold my interest as much as Dark Souls, and I will stand on that hill, but that's just my perspective. Everyone is different, and I'm sure if you love Elden Ring, and if you do love Souls games, Dark Souls, or you've never played Elden Ring, now is the perfect time. Don't be afraid, jump straight into Elden Ring, because this is a much more welcoming experience for newcomers to the Souls series. If you love Elden Ring, go back please and play Dark Souls. Lots of people, you know, just have fixated on Elden Ring and they've never touched Dark Souls. Please go back and play it. So to answer the question, is Elden Ring worth it in 2025? Absolutely, this is going to be a massive year for this game, and they're just adding even more content to it. I know there is tons of lore detail in Elden Ring, and many of it is interesting to me, but it's just not as interesting if you ask me. But if you love it, that's fine. We are all here to share our passions, and we can all have different perspectives. So let me know what you think of Elden Ring in 2025 in the comments down below, and I'll be seeing you in the next video. Have a great day and a fantastic start to the new year, and we're gonna grow this channel together, baby. You'll just wait and see this year. This is the year of the wise ones. I'll see you next time. Have a great day. Peace out.